Welcome back for the first SuperCoach video of the 2024 season. If you haven't listened to me before, my name's JD. I do a bit of SuperCoach, a bit of fantasy. Okay at both. So we're going to go through thoughts for the preseason now that the team picker is open. I am sorry that this has come a little bit late. As I tweeted earlier today, we've been without internet for a couple of days. As it turns out, I have a feeling my dog ate through the cord under the house somewhere, and that's what did it. But we're back online now. But I did tweet a few thoughts for the year ahead, which I'm going to go through, and then we'll quickly build a team, which is funny because one of the first things I'm going to tell you in this is that building teams right now is probably, there's not a lot of point to it. But all right, so let's run through this thread quickly, and then we'll jump into the team. So firstly, I've said it a few times over the last couple of months if you've been listening to me, but getting to look at 8 teams for free in round 0 is absolutely nuts, and I think it goes against the spirit of the game, but that's what's been decided, and I'm in, 7 stages of grieving or whatever. I'm past bargaining a lot. I think I'm into acceptance, so we'll just deal with it the best we can, but it fundamentally changes things because previously we spend all our time in the preseason researching these teams, watching preseason games, reading preseason training reports, trying to figure out how teams will structure up for the year ahead when it comes to which players are getting more opportunity, who's changing roles, all that type of stuff, what CBA rotations are going to be. And for 8 teams, we kind of just don't need to do that anymore because we are going to get to see how they are going to play in real games in round 0, for free, and we don't have to lock in any players. We don't have to pay any price for it. We get all that information for free. So, for example, worrying about who of Adams, Jordan, and Sheldrick are going to get mid-time this year doesn't matter. You'll just get to find it out. Don't stress about those decisions. You don't really need to look at these teams or make any judgments or put in an educated guess for you versus the rest of the competition because we're all going to get to find it out for free. And the effect of this is that picking teams before round 0 is done is kind of pointless because after round 0, we're going to see 8 teams worth of players that are must picks, whether they're rookies, premiums, or mid prices, and pretty much everyone's going to jump on them. And once that's done, that forms the basis of your team structure, which will then inform all the rest of your decisions. So trying to figure out what structures you like and don't like and all that type of stuff doesn't really matter now. What you should be spending your time on is figuring out who are the players that you are interested in, what are the signs that you're looking for, and then after round 0, once those must picks have kind of filled out your team as a template, it'll be very template based. You should then hopefully have a good catalog of everyone else that you liked or didn't like and what you've been looking for in the preseason so you can slot them in around whatever those 8 round 0 teams are. There are more implications of that, but I think this is the big one. So don't spend too much time fiddling with structures and changing how your team looks every day and asking, is this team look good? Because really it doesn't matter. We won't know until round 0 is done, and it provides so much information. You just wait for that. All right, now this next one here is that the premiums who play round 0 expect to lose 50 points during their early buys. So those that play round 0, they have buys in rounds 2, 3, 5, and 6, which is only 2 to 3 points off their average for the year. So that's just the 50 points divided by 23 games. That's roughly, you're losing that much points by having them sit out during that buy and be replaced or covered by a rookie. And then this number goes up goes up more when you have more players on buy, which makes me think that 2, maybe 3 is a cap at TBC. I've gone and done some quick calculations since I typed this out, and I think that's right. The first premium you lose is probably about 50 point expected average. The second will be about 55, maybe a little bit more. Third around 60, and the fourth's at like 70. And so it basically scales up, ramps up pretty big, which means I think that for at value premiums, you maybe want 1 or 2. Like even going 3 is pretty scary. You definitely don't want 4. So yeah, be careful with these round 0 premiums that you pick. You don't want to go too many of those. I think it's okay to have slightly more if you're picking really good value players. So if they're going to go up 100k and average well or whatever the price is, then fine, you might be willing to take a bit of a bath in some of those buys. But yeah, you got to get this balance right. And once again, this is part of what makes round 0 interesting because we're going to be told which of these players you have to pick or not. And that's going to then dictate some of this other stuff. So yeah, put in some like examples here. So like maybe you wanted Flanders and Tom Green, and that might be okay to start both of them, even though it's two. But then you can't also have Turk and Himmelberg. It's going to be way too much, especially if then there ends up being like other mid prices or rookies from those teams that you want. It's just too many. So you've got to be a little bit careful here. This next insight is that the upgrade season might happen a little bit earlier than in previous years if these four teams, so Melbourne, Pies, Swans, and D's, have good rookies, as they will start price rises in round 2 rather than round 3, which means by round 5 they'll already have had 4 price rises rather than the typical 3 at that point in the year, which may mean that you might have enough cash from these rookies to start upgrading around earlier than what we've previously had in prior years. And that is because while round 0 scores don't count for anything, it does get included in their price rises, which means that they will have had an extra price rise by the time they get to those rounds. Now, it's only those 4 teams and not the other ones because they have their buys in round 2 and round 3, which means they won't have had enough price rises, and then after their buy, they're caught up just with everyone else. So it's just these 4 teams. So if out of round 0 you have really strong rookies from these 4 sides, and maybe you've got 2 or 3 of them, then there's a good chance that you will be able to start upgrading around earlier than previous years, and that's super important. If you don't know why, there's some theory stuff you should be checking out is to the value and upgrades cadence, but effectively just getting one premium up on the competition because you've done an upgrade earlier gives you an extra like 30 to 50 points, something like that a week during all of upgrade season, which lasts for 8-9 weeks. So effectively you can get like 400 to 500 point advantage on the competition by being able to upgrade to a premium earlier than everyone else. It's super big. So yeah, this one's a big one to watch out for. Next insight here is that if you've been listening to me for the last couple of years, you'll know that I'm anti-loophole on the bench to start the year. I think it's the wrong decision. Having the extra cash gen ends up being better. And by round 2, 3, 4, anyway, you'll have had a player that's injured, dropped, whatever it may be, that ends up being your loophole for a captain and for rookie scores. But this year it is super wrong, because while in round 1 you could benefit from a loophole, in round 2 and 3 we'll have buys, which means you'll have loops from those buy players. And by the time we get to round 4, which is then a full best 22, you'll likely have that dead rookie, injury, suspension, whatever it is anyway. And so you won't have needed to start a loophole. That is to say, if you can find like an R3, that's going to be the spot that's tricky to find someone that will generate cash. I would recommend starting that over a loophole this year. Next one up, if you have a look at the fixtures, the 2 teams that have the best buys are Freo and Port, because they have the round 0 buy, which of course doesn't count, and then they have the round 13 buy, which they only share with each other and no other team. So that'll be the easiest buy to get through. So that means that, I've listed a bunch of players here, but they all get a little bit of bonus in terms of consideration just because they have the best buy. They are players you can definitely look at starting and holding all year. And then, just to recap, so don't worry about picking a starting team now. And by that, I mean, it's fun. I don't want to detract from your fun, but just don't let it anchor you and don't stress about that too much because it doesn't really matter that much. Picking at round 0 is where rubber hits the road. You can start 1 to 2 premiums from early buys, especially if they're good value, but I wouldn't do much more than that in those rounds. The upgrade season may start earlier if those 4 sides have good rookies. Watch all the round 0 games. If you could just watch 4 games this year, it's the round 0 games. They're the most important ones that you'll watch for the whole year. Clear your weekend to watch those games start to finish. You can watch players that you think are relevant. Don't start any loopholes, and then Port and Freo have the best buy. All right, cool. Those are some insights into how I think the game has changed with the new SuperCoach rules. So, keep those in mind. All right, now let's pick a side, and I'm not going to go through every player. George, Eno, and I on George's channel when SuperCoach first opened went through a bit of a team picker. I think Eno picked it, and we just kind of talked through players. So if you wanted to hear some of my thoughts on players there, feel free to check them out, but we'll go into more detail as the preseason moves on. I just don't want to spend an hour talking through all of them in this video. So I might talk through a few, but not heaps. There's a few defenders I like, or I'll have on my watch list. So, Dacos, obviously, Sicily, Stewart, probably not Ryan, Sinclair, Sheasel, Short, potentially, seeing what his role is under Uze. I actually think Richmond's going to be more interesting than they have been in previous years, just because they have a new coach. I'm kind of keen to see how that plays out. There's some talk of Ridley with Mackay coming over. Hayden Young's my first big defender this year. I think that's probably going to be the case for a lot of people, but his stats in the midfield over the last 4 games were great. He seems to be playing in there this year, and once again, as I talked about, has that good buy that we like. So yeah, Hayden Young is a good one. Look, with Oliver's news, Andy Brayshaw's been okay. Sorry, not Andy. Angus has been okay in the midfield when he's had CBAs, potentially one to watch. And then I think it drops off pretty heavily. Wangan and Malira, you could maybe see some continued improvement out of, and he was better over the back end of last year. But yeah, which came with like Sinclair's role change. So yeah, he's one that you could look at as a cheaper option. I know some people will look at Witherden with Hearn retiring. He did retire, right? But yeah, maybe not. Ash was good over the back end of last year. Himmelberg, I think his buy is going to clash too early, and he was a bit of a butcher last year. You juicy trap. We'll talk about Baker and the forwards, I think, just because there's not many options there. Yeah, it gets pretty slim at the 400 range. Kitty Coleman is one that could be looked at. No Rich, and had a good final series. Has the round 2 buy. So once again, that's a bit of a struggle because we're going to talk through a couple of other options. One defender, one mid, which I really like from that buy, which may rule out Coleman. 300, so it's getting sad in here. Sorry, I'm trying to scroll through quickly so we're not here all day. Bowes actually could be interesting, Jack Bowes. We'll see. I know a lot of people will like sideways glance for that. Windhag is one that I have an eye on. He's on the watch list somewhere. And we get into some like of these 200k options, which I think are pretty interesting as well. I do think could be a fair bit of value in defense this year. So Heath Chapman, he's training on a wing at Freo, so I don't mind him as an option. I probably will start with him, so let's chuck him in there as at least a placeholder anyway. Zach Williams is the freest pick in defense. Yeah, he's actually would be the first picked over Young at this point. So 216k. He's been a premium in the past. Not that I think he'll necessarily get back to that this year, but that Blues defense has been insane. Technically he's someone that you could not start and wait to see how he goes round 0, round 1. And then if you'd like that, you could trade him after his buy in round 3. I don't know why you do that. You could do it as like a rookie correction if you really didn't want to start Williams. Trezise. I hope that's how you say his name. I know someone uses that alliteration in chat, so I just hope that's like the key to saying this surname properly. He's been one that's been pumped up. Same with O'Donnell from the Dogs, so you could keep eyes on them. Going down further, Curtin has been talked about, had good numbers as a rookie. I'm not actually too sure about him, so he's one I want to research. I didn't mention the Bombers man, but Nick Cox, he's rumored to be playing at halfback this year, so potentially one as well at 234k. Like, as I said, lots of value down in defense. So someone like Dacos I like, but there's a chance I actually start him in the midfield this year just because of how much value there seems to be in defense. Kobe Burgeel, I don't know how to say his name either. There's talk he's training off halfback. Bustling has been getting good reports so far in the preseason, but Caulfield is one that I want to pick up. If he gets his body right, he will easily outperform this price, and once again, should be playing in defense for the Dogs. Who else we've got? Hawes back on a list, and his rookie year, he made a lot of money, so one you could look out for if he gets a role. Pink is one that will find his way into a lot of teams, 124k, so he's a mature age recruit for the North defense, and they are very slim on plays at the moment with Mackay leaving, and then Cause had injury issues. I can't remember where Logue's at either, but yeah, it sounds like Pink might get games early. Another one is Gibkiss, 150k for the Tigers, and as I mentioned, those Tigers is one of those teams we're looking for. If they get rookies that score well early, they could be the key to helping us upgrade early. So Gibkiss is one that could fit into that mold. He did well in his rookie year, was badly injury affected last year. I think he's going to be back in full training by the start of the new year, which is a good sign for him. Who else have we got? Zach Reed, so Essendon rookie. been injury plagued, but he could play a defensive role as well. He's like a tall defender, 200 and something centimeters. Okay, I think for now, looking at the premiums, I might put in Sheasel, and we'll see. Just he only had one game without Hall and Zeeble, which I think was like round 24, and he scored okay. But outside of that, pretty much all of his worst games came with both Hall and Zeeble in the slide. So if he's just playing that halfback role and if he's just playing that halfback role with neither of those in the side, and he's got Fisher and Kobe McKercher, then he could potentially go a level up and he'd be relatively good value at his price range. So yeah, something like this is pretty decent, I think. Midfielders. So no to Bont, no to Oliver, maybe to Petrarca if Oliver's not around. Probably no to Laird, no to Merritt. I think like Dacos actually could be the one that I'm most likely to start here. No to Libba. Not sure about Dawson with Crouch in the side. No to Dunkley. Performed worse without Ashcroft last year. Butters, I am in on. He had a very slow start last year after injury affected preseason, then gunned it through the back end of the year, including the last 5 that was just phenomenal. So, I think he presents upside still at his price. LDU, I think, also presents upside with his price. He had something like 4 injuries last year, which is the worry, but his ceiling is insane. And then the next 2 I think are pretty tricky. So Tom Green and Sam Walsh. I think these 2 are both value, but they've just got the early buys. So, Walsh with Williams. Green is going to be paired up with Flanders, spoiler. So that's 2 that I'm kind of locking myself into each of those early buys. Am I happy with that? Not sure, but I do like those picks. So they're going to go in there for now. But if I research some midfielders I end up liking more comparatively, I could see myself swapping out, like, for whatever reason I fall in love with like a Sarong or a Brayshaw, especially given they've got that good buy. I could see myself getting out of these picks maybe when looking at Dawson or Dunkley or Laird or something like that in the preseason. I could see myself moving away. Bont is a no for me. I mean, he's had, I think it was an ankle surgery that he's recovering from, but I just don't like picking top price players, and that's where he is. So it's a no for me. And then, as I mentioned, Crouch might be one that I start. I don't know. Like, I'm going past Miller. He's a watch to see what role he gets. Steele must be around here somewhere as well. He should be cheap, right? Steele, 530k. He's been value for a couple of years and hasn't been able to get his body right. But yeah, where is he? Matt Crouch. He can do more than this. He presents some value. The price is awkward though. I could see myself getting out of it just because of the price. And then I'm going, yes, this is pretty heavy midfield, isn't it? And so the one mid-pricer I like is Sheldrick from the Swans, 300k. Where is he? Yep, there you go, Angus Sheldrick. So I like him as an option, but we'll just see what happens with the preseason. When he got mid-minutes, he was a beast. And when he got CBAs, he was great. But they've brought in other people this year, so we'll see what happens. All right, McKercher, he's a no-brainer. He's going to play halfback for North, like freest role in the comp at the moment. Sanders, with Baz out, looks like he should be getting some mid-time. Very highly talented. We're going to go, I think, Sharp next, who sounds like he's going to get a wing role for Freo. His mature age should be good. And then I'm just going to chuck in a couple others. Jack Clark maybe gets a game this year. And Jackson Binns, namesake, holding it down together. But yeah, they're just placeholders really. I think McKercher, Sanders, and Sharp you can kind of bank on for now, and then these other 2 are just placeholders wherever it pops up. In the rucks, there's only like a handful of options I think for me that I could see like being worthwhile playing. So English, definitely one of them. He's top price, which is always the hard thing. Hard to keep up that price, especially as the magic number works against you early on. But if anyone could do it, it could be Timmy English. Next up is Gawn, whose numbers without Grundy last year were insane. He had a 4-game purple patch where he averaged, I want to say, somewhere between 140 and 160, including his 200 game, was all without Grundy in the side. He is getting on in age, though. Just had a 3rd kid, so congrats. And there was a couple of injuries sneaking in towards the back end of last year. So all some downsides, and he's also got a earlier buy, I want to say. I think he's one of the first Yeah, he's one of the first. He's like round 6, I want to say the D's are. I might be misremembering that. But yeah, so yeah, but he's one. We got Grundy here at 482k. So a bit like Gorn when he was number 1 ruck last year, he showed that he still had some ceiling in him. So at this price, he's a bit of a steal. And I'm going Tristan Cherry as well. He's priced at 73. I think he can go high 90s, maybe even low 100s, around this range here, which at his price is pretty good. It would have him 150k or more underpriced, which is good. But he's been injury prone the last couple of years, which is a bit of a worry. But yeah, so these two, or I could see like Grundy in English or Grundy and Gone, maybe something like that. I could see people stepping away from Cherry, which is fine. I'm not wedded to him at the moment either. Solder's shown some scoring potential as well. I think it's interesting. Flynn's now number 1 ruck at West Coast. Be interesting to see how they set up, but I'm assuming BJ Williams is still going to be on the side, which will limit any upside for Flynn here. Then Darcy's got Jackson. Unfortunately, Briggs I don't think kicks on from that. I mean, Witts could bounce back because he was injury affected last year. All right, and then yeah, as I mentioned, we want to play pick a playing R3. I don't know much about him, but I'm going to go Archer Reed. He was drafted high enough, and I think there's a chance he gets a forward role for Freo this year. Look, you've got Naismith in there at 124k. If for whatever reason Nankervis goes down and he gets called up, great. You might even play him on field. There's talk of, where is he? Oh, well, like Sweet is potentially an option, and then Conway could take the number 1 ruck role for Geelong. Those are all some options there that could potentially play games. Oh, I've also seen some of the North fans talking up Finbar, but I don't know. That just could be memes. It feels like every North player is getting talked up. I can already concede too many on my side at the moment. I might be getting influenced. All right, McRae, yeah, he's been on a downward trajectory, and if the forward line wasn't so bare, I'd probably be trying to get away from him. I might still get away from him, to be honest, but yeah, no Baz. Surely his role can't get worse than what it was last year, and he still averaged 100. So yeah, he's good for 20, basically a full season of games each year. This is at value, and I don't like at value picks. I like trying to find value, but yeah, I think that's all right. Flanders, back end, who was a beast, averaged something like 106 over the last 10. He's priced at 88. So as long as Hardwick has his head on straight, that should be a pretty straightforward pick. From the other ones up here, I mean, look, Bolton, Dusty, potentially, depending on what we hear about, but not really. But yeah, Bolton might be interesting. And then I also spoke about, where was he? Baker, who could get settled roles, maybe more in the midfield this year. And I'd be interested in both of those, depending on what we hear out of Richmond and what we see. But they have the earlier buy. They're not that much value. So I could see myself kind of waiting for those and just seeing what happens. Taylor Adams, once again, if he gets at mid-time, the 400k range from memory is not particularly great. We do get into Zach Fisher at 380k. Once again, room to be playing half-back. So Fisher, McKercher, Sheasel, we are loading up on that North half-back dream. Just kick to kick, boys. That's all you need to do. Don't worry about winning. Yeah, make those points count. So yeah, well, feels very all in on that, which I don't know, and like how all three are meant to be playing half back. Questions, but we'll keep that for now. Who have we still got to go? Let's chuck in. Where is he? James Jordan. Oh, I heard Kammer's training in defense. If that's true, he could potentially be good. Tom Lynch is still working through his rehab. He's meant to be joining full training start of early next year. If he does, look, he presents some value at that price. But yeah, don't know about that. Fife, I think we've seen he's too injury prone and just going to be playing forward to be worth it, even at that cheap price. Harms, potentially interesting as a midfield option now that he's moved to the Dogs and they've lost Baz. Where was the one? I was looking for James Jordan. There we go. So yeah, if he gets the CBA time, like James Jordan as a pick. And then who else is in here? Sardis from Essendon. His kicking's a worry, but he might get a better role this year. We've got Comben, who's training in defense for North and doing well, but remember in training they play against themselves, so that explains a bit. Alwyn Davey was rumored to be playing like halfback, trialing halfback, but then in match team he played forward, so I don't know, still a light watch. Highly Reid's pretty easy. We've got some other options down here as well, some good cheapies. So like Fantasia, if he plays, he can definitely outperform where he's priced at 176k. It's just about his body, whether that can stay right. Because he is a round 0 rookie, we will get to see, like he's one that just makes sense to just to wait until round 4 to round 3 to change someone, right? Because round 0 you'll see him play, round 1 you'll see him play, and then he's got the bye in round 2. And if you feel like after those 2 games and he gets through the bye, that he's a good pick, then maybe round 3 correction, maybe not one to start with though. Finn McRae is one that could get midfield time at Collingwood. Wilson's been talked about very positively, and I'm just going to fill out with, where is he? Manor. He's mature age rookie for Geelong, but once again, rooks, they're just placeholders at this point. And then we'll see how much money we've got left. 338k for another forward. So yeah, there was a ton in that range that I just went through that could end up being okay options. It's probably, I'm trying to remember which buy Richmond has and who they share it with. Oh no, there's no way for me to look either, is there? Not without having to open up new tabs, which I'm not going to do. So I don't know. It could be like a Lynch. It could be. Is there anyone even higher than that worthwhile looking at? No. Oh, I could see he's doing something like moving Crouch to Sheldrick and putting Cherry up to English. Okay, I'm breaking my own rule. I'm caring too much about the team structure. Just pick a player. It doesn't matter. Just pick anyone who I'm going to pick. Oh, do you know what? I feel like, oh, Hewitt, Rob. Yeah, Dev Rob, these are good options. But I feel like I haven't got enough North players. So let's just pick another one. Woohoo, go North. This is the way to make them watchable, to be honest. Just load up your Supercoach team with North players, and you want to watch every game of this desperately. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes. I've always wanted that many North players in a Supercoach first draft. Okay, I guess I'm watching their big footy board during the preseason to see how they're going. But there we go. That is a first team filled out. It's pretty average, to be honest. But coming back to what I was talking about earlier, the principles of what we're looking at, it's going to change a bunch once we see round 0 and who plays out. Like, is Gibcus a good rookie or not? That's going to change things. How do we feel about some of the Carlton rookies, whether it be Bins, Fantasia, all that type of stuff? That's what's going to dictate our sides. What do the Swans mid prices look like? Do I need Jordan or Adams or Sheldrick or all 3? So yeah, we're going to be adjusting very heavily after round 2 that's waiting for, but at least this should give you an idea for the types of players I like, and ultimately where I see a lot of the value. I see a lot of the value in defense and the forward line this year, and even the rucks. I don't see much of it in the midfield. So in the midfield, we're probably going to be going a little bit more premium heavy, even if it means starting forwards or defenders in there, and then just playing McKercher, Sanders, and maybe Sharp. These are kind of like the 3 I could see myself starting as rookies on the field at the moment, but even that would depend on bench depth. So hopefully that gives you a good idea. If there's anything else that you're thinking of that I should have covered and I didn't, hit me up in the questions below and I'll get back to you. Otherwise, have a great Christmas, a great New Year, and I'll see you in 2024 for hopefully a fun, fantastic year of Supercoach and fantasy. Peace.